The night was cool as I strolled through the quiet neighborhood, the dim glow of streetlights casting elongated shadows across the pavement. My attention was drawn to a quaint house, a single credit card lying conspicuously on the welcome mat in front of the door. Concerned that someone might have dropped it, I approached and knocked on the door, intending to return the card. After a few moments, the door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit hallway and the faint murmurs of laughter from within. "Hello," I called out, holding up the credit card. "I believe someone dropped this outside." The door swung open wider, revealing a couple standing there, their smiles warm and inviting. "Oh, thank you so much for returning that," the woman exclaimed. "Please come in, let us thank you properly." Hesitant but swayed by their friendly demeanor, I stepped inside, the door closing behind me with an ominous click. The interior was cozy, a stark contrast to the darkness outside. Yet a subtle unease settled over me as I followed them deeper into the house. They led me to the living room, offering a seat and refreshments as a gesture of gratitude. The atmosphere, however, felt oddly stifling, the air thick with an unspoken tension. My instincts screamed at me to leave, but politeness and curiosity held me captive. As they retrieved some money to offer in return for my goodwill, I noticed subtle shifts in their demeanor, their smiles too wide, their gazes unnervingly intense. Alarm bells rang in my mind, warning me of the deception cloaked beneath their hospitality. Before I could react, the room began to spin, a dizzying sensation engulfing me. The once inviting atmosphere turned sinister, shadows dancing in the corners like malevolent specters. Panic surged through me as I realized the trap I'd fallen into. They weren't merely offering gratitude, they were luring me into something darker. Summoning all my strength, I feigned gratitude, pretending to reach for the money they offered. With a sudden burst of adrenaline, I leaped from the chair and darted toward the door, their malicious laughter echoing behind me. Adrenaline fueled my escape as I raced through the dimly lit corridors, the house seemingly stretching out to prolong my ordeal. Panic clawed at my chest, urging me to flee before it was too late. Finally, I burst through the front door, gasping for air, the cold night embracing me like a lifeline. I sprinted down the street, not daring to look back, the haunting echoes of their laughter fading into the distance. As I reached the safety of my own home, I shuddered at the narrow escape. The innocuous act of returning a credit card had nearly turned into a nightmarish entrapment. I vowed never to underestimate the deceptive allure of seemingly kind gestures.
The streets of Detroit at night held an eerie ambiance, a haunting beauty overshadowed by the city's forgotten corners. I ventured out alone, drawn by a need for solitude amidst the city's whispering shadows. The flickering streetlights cast elongated shadows that danced along the deserted sidewalks. My footsteps echoed hollowly, the sound amplified by the silence that enveloped the abandoned buildings. The city seemed frozen in time, its once bustling streets now echoing with a haunting emptiness. As I strolled deeper into the heart of the city, a sense of unease settled upon me. I quickened my pace, the oppressive atmosphere pressing down on my chest like a weight. A faint sound cut through the stillness, a distant murmur carried by the wind. I halted, straining to discern its origin. It sounded like voices, whispers that seemed to emerge from the decrepit buildings themselves. My heart raced as I navigated the maze of alleyways, the echoes of my footsteps blending with the phantom whispers. Shadows danced and twisted, playing tricks on my senses and making me question my sanity. I stumbled upon an old, dilapidated building that stood like a sentinel in the desolate landscape. The whispers grew more pronounced, their words indistinct, yet filled with an urgency that sent a chill down my spine. Against my better judgment, I approached the building, the creaking door inviting me in like an ominous embrace. With each step, the whispers intensified, echoing in a cacophony of fragmented sentences that clawed at my mind. I stepped into the darkness within, the air thick with the musty scent of neglect. The interior was a labyrinth of abandoned hallways, each step echoing hauntingly in the silence. A flicker of movement caught my eye, a fleeting shadow darting around the corner. My pulse raced, but curiosity mingled with fear propelled me forward. The whispers seemed to guide me, their ethereal guidance leading deeper into the forgotten corridors. A sudden coldness gripped the air, chilling me to the bone. I turned a corner and stumbled upon a room bathed in an otherworldly glow. Figures, shadowy apparitions, swayed in a spectral dance, their murmurs growing louder, filling the room with an eerie chorus. I tried to flee, but an unseen force held me in place, roots of fear entwining my limbs. The whispers coalesced into a haunting chant, pulling at the edges of my sanity. "Stay with us," they pleaded, their voices a mournful symphony. In a frenzy, I broke free from the invisible hold, racing back through the labyrinthine passages, the whispers pursuing me like a relentless tempest. Finally, I burst back onto the desolate streets, gasping for breath, my mind reeling from the spectral encounter. The echoes of the forgotten city lingered, their whispers etched into my soul, a chilling reminder of the mysteries lurking in the shadows. As I fled the desolate streets, I vowed never to heed the call of those haunting whispers again. I took my dog Max for a walk on a moonless night, the air thick with an eerie silence. The path was enveloped in darkness, only a dim streetlight flickering in the distance. Max trotted ahead, his ears perked up, sensing something amiss. As we ventured deeper into the woods, an inexplicable unease settled over me. The rustling leaves and the faint hooting of an owl made my skin prickle, but it was the distant whispers that sent shivers down my spine. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice quivering, but there was no reply. Max's low growl echoed my unease. He stared into the darkness ahead, hackles raised, teeth bared. I quickened my pace, the path narrowing as the trees seemed to press in around us. Shadows danced eerily, playing tricks on my mind. Suddenly, Max halted, his body rigid, fixated on a spot behind a gnarled oak. "Max, what's wrong?" I whispered, my heart pounding in my chest. His gaze remained fixed, his growl intensifying. I strained to see through the darkness, but could discern nothing. Then, a figure emerged, silhouetted against the trees. It was a woman, her presence sending a chill through the air. She wore a tattered gown, her hair a tangled mess. Her eyes gleamed an otherworldly hue in the faint light. "Who are you?" I stammered, my voice barely audible. She didn't respond. Instead, her lips parted, emitting a guttural sound that pierced the silence. It was a mournful wail that echoed through the woods, raising the hair on my neck. "Let's go, Max," I urged, tugging at his leash. But he stood rooted, his gaze fixed on the woman. I turned to leave when a chorus of whispers rose around us, ethereal voices carrying on the wind. They spoke in hushed tones, indecipherable yet hauntingly familiar. My heart raced, panic seizing me as I struggled to comprehend their meaning. The woman stepped closer, her movements unnaturally fluid. I stumbled backward, my mind urging me to flee, but Max's continued fixation on her stopped me in my tracks. Then she spoke, her voice a haunting melody that resonated through the night. "Join us," she whispered, her eyes locking with mine, a chilling plea in her gaze. My breath hitched, my body frozen in fear. Shadows danced around her, contorting into grotesque shapes. The whispers grew louder, echoing in my mind, suffocating me with their insistent murmur. With every ounce of willpower, I tore my gaze away from her and bolted, dragging Max along. The whispers pursued us, growing more fervent, urging me to turn back. I stumbled and fell, scrambling to my feet and racing blindly through the woods. Finally, we burst into the clearing, the distant glow of streetlights offering a semblance of safety. I collapsed to the ground, gasping for air, my heart threatening to burst out of my chest. Max lay by my side, panting heavily, his eyes fixed on the woods, still wary. I couldn't shake off the haunting memory of the woman's spectral presence, her voice lingering in my mind like a chilling echo. As I sat there trembling, I realized the night held secrets beyond comprehension, and some whispers were best left unanswered.